You got a worldwide crime syndicate now. There's no rules. There's no parameters. There's no feelings. There's no feelings for this country.
Hey everybody, Michael Franzese here, and welcome to Mob Movie Monday. My name is Michael Franzese, and I was a former capo regime in the Colombo crime family back in New York, one of the 5 New York Mafia, La Cosa Nostra families. This movie, Gotti, with Armand Assante, one of the greatest mob movies, if not for me, the best mob movie ever made, because it was so authentic, very, very close to what really happened during that time. This was my period, my era, so to speak, in the mob. I knew all the guys in the film, knew every one of them at some point in time. I met them for one reason or another. So the first scene I'm going to show you, a very authentic scene. Anthony Quinn plays O'Neill Delacroix, who is brilliant in it. Watch this one, then we'll talk about it.
He wants to see me. What do you mean, right now?
Right now.
And she goes with?
Bring him along.
Angie, andiamo!
Hey, Neil, how you doing?
Hello, Sammy. Sammy Gravano. You know John Gotti?
Yeah, just by reputation.
Same here. How you doing?
Ricardo, this is John Gotti.
How are you?
Paul Castellano.
How you doing, Paul?
Joe Armon.
John, how are you?
Well, sit down, sit down. Make your crew understand they deal in drugs, that's all. They die.
Very, very important scene. We set up a lot of characters. We set up Angelo Ruggiero, who some of you may know is a close associate of John Gotti's. He was also a made guy. He was a capo regime when I was a capo regime, and yes, that's the term that we used among each other, made guys. Right here, he was coming to tell John that he was summoned to meet the boss, Carlo Gambino. Everybody's heard of Carlo, you know that name. I had the pleasure of meeting him when I was younger as a kid. It didn't really have much to do with him. It was before my time. He died in 1976, I believe, but I did have the pleasure to meet him. You also met Paul Castellano in this film, in this scene rather, and you know who Paul was. He was the boss. I did have an opportunity to meet Paul the first time I met him. Wasn't a good one. Was in a sit down with him over some chickens that I had bought from one of his stores. Long story, I'll get into it another time. All these characters are set up here. The other thing that's very, very significant here in this thing is that Carlo Gambino is telling John Gotti, we don't do drugs. Drugs are off limits. He believed that drugs were detrimental to the whole family because of the fact that they would attract law enforcement in a way that we didn't need it. We had enough trouble. So Carlo had imposed that policy on all 5 families. They all agreed drugs was off limits. And then, of course, you had Sammy Gravano, who, again, I believe he was a captain at that point in time. Maybe not. It might have been just a soldier. I don't know. But you got a great setup, great scene. No drugs. Everything's set up to go. Let's go to the next scene.
The bottom line is John Gotti clipped a soldier, Maduchin, without my okay. That's a flagrant violation. John Gotti should fucking die. No need to curse, Paul. No need.
John Gotti clipped your scumbag soldier because your scumbag soldier deserved it. John Gotti is Cosa Nostra.
Consigliere.
The rule was broken, yes. We need all the John Gottis we can get. But we survive by our rules. If it was my call, he would go.
The respect that was given to Carlo, it's the respect that's always given to a boss. O'Neill, who was a powerful guy in his own right, you know, he looked at Carlo, he was going to say something. Carlo holds up his hands. O'Neill, respectful as the day is long, just stopped and listened. Very, very powerful scene, very, very authentic. Remember, you never, ever either raise your hand to another made guy, you certainly never take his life without getting permission from the boss. So this was high stakes at its most in that life. This was a real serious matter being resolved in a sit down. So you know another interesting thing there? What does Carlo tell Paul? Stop cussing. You know, the old timers, a lot of them, they didn't curse that much, especially the bosses. They tried to have a little bit more integrity in their dialogue. You know, I noticed this with my dad too at times. He didn't like to use foul language. So anyway, Carlo is listening. He's going to make the final decision. It's really up to the boss. He's always got the final say. What he says goes. So he looks at his consigliere and he says, "Consigliere, what do you think?" And the consigliere said it, look, he said, "We need 100 John Gottis because they knew what John was made of. Takes an order, does it, no questions asked, boom." But he also says, look, we have rules, okay? And if the rules fall apart, this life falls apart. So he said, if it was my decision, John Gotti would go, kill him. The boss had to make the final decision, and who knows what it's going to be. Next scene. This is such a powerful scene.
They're negotiating all night.
Let's take a walk. Negotiating what?
Your fucking life.
We're taking out a fucking cokehead.
Be quiet! Sit down. You know, I've clipped a lot of guys in my life. Close friends. Guys I didn't know. I didn't always agree that the guy should be clipped. But I never questioned the orders. And I never went off half-cocked and clipped somebody I wasn't supposed to. Now you shut up. You just listen. You know, Big Paul went to Don Carlo for permission to have you whacked. It came this close. I told Don Carlo, you were like a son to me. That touched the old man. He told Paul to give you a pass. But if Don Carlo had said, you gotta go, I would have come here today with these 2 zips, and you would go.
I got to tell you, this is one of the most intense and most brilliant scenes, and a scene that hit so close to home in any movie that I've ever seen. Anthony Quinn was absolutely brilliant in this scene, but he kind of summed up what La Cosa Nostra, my former life, was really all about. You see how angry he was. You know, he fought all night to save John Gotti's life because John Gotti was like a son to him. But what he says in this scene is what that life was all about. We're a life built on rules. And if you break the rules, the whole thing falls apart. Now, what happened in the 80s? Guys started breaking the rules left and right. Left and right. Who became an informant, who was doing drugs when they shouldn't have been doing drugs, and that life started to crumble from within. Trust me on that. And mostly because of the intense scrutiny and the laws that the government came up with that put so much pressure on guys. Guys started to flip, become informants. But the rules, you know, just like we're saying now, the United States is a land of law. We live by the law. In La Cosa Nostra, the reason it's survived for so long, over 100 years, not only survived, but prospered because we were built on rules and policies that we had to keep. And it was all under the policy of Omerta, kept our mouths shut, and we played by the rules. Another thing that he said, so important, okay, for the old timers, he said, "I love you like a son, but if the order came down today that you were to be whacked, I would come here today with these 2 zips and you would be whacked." He said it straight out because we follow the rules. Now, I got to tell you something. This hit close to home because when I walked away from that life and, you know, the feds told me that, you know, my dad had went along with, not put the contract on my life, but went along with the contract because I walked away from that life. This scene came to mind, you know, and I said, man, I wonder if my father would have ever done that, if he was the one told to pull the trigger on me. And I came to the conclusion that no, he would not have. I don't think my father would have done it, even though my father was as much of an old-timer as O'Neill de la Croce. He played by the rules. He died by the rules. You know, to deal with him, 103 years old, never opened his mouth, died with his boots on, so to speak. But this scene really made me think of that. This was a great movie, people. I'm enjoying this. I hope you are. You know, I know a lot of people like to have more insight into that life, so I'm doing it through these films. We're going to review a lot of them over a period of time. We're mixing Mob Movie Monday in with Mob Story Monday. We have a lot of people that have joined my crew, my community, michaelfranzese.com. The community is free. People are interacting with each other. A lot of encouraging things happening, a lot of prayer going on. Sometimes some of my brothers and sisters in Christ, they knock me, "You're not talking enough about your faith." People always talk about my faith. It's not in the closet. I wear it where I am, but you don't always have to verbally talk about it. It's just who I am. But you're going to get some of that. And then, of course, you can go to a higher level and have more personal contact with me. There is a fee involved. Well worth it, I believe, because I give you a lot of my time. So, thank you again. Until next time, next Monday, might be Mob Movie Monday, might be Mob Story Monday, we don't know, but you'll have some things in between. God bless, have a good time, stay healthy, and be safe.